Haha. Okay, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Steel and Glory podcast.
Steel and glory.
Steel and Glory. Where we discuss historical fencing and all things related to the sword arts around the globe.
Yeah, it's a pretty big place.
The globe is a pretty big place. I'm liking this podcast already. You guys ready to go?
Ready as ever, baby.
Yeah, ready. All right, cool. So here's what we are going to do. I'm going to introduce my guests here tonight. All right, so Zane McBride is a skilled swordsman who has dedicated himself to the art of sword fighting for the past 7 years. At age 9, he began his training as a student zero. Student zero at the prestigious and renowned Bladefoot Academy, where he quickly proved himself to be a natural talent. Over the course of his studies, Zane has achieved all of the ranks, all of them, and has become one of the most highly regarded students at the academy, mastering the medieval sword and shield and saber buckler, as well as dueling saber. In addition to his own training, Zane has also taken on the role of teaching other young students as part of his mastery. He has a natural ability to connect with his students and to instill in them a love of historical fencing. As a result, many of his students have gone on to become skilled sword fighters in their own right. Zane's dedication to his craft has not gone unnoticed. He frequently fences with seasoned adults and is acclaimed for his skill and contributions to the adult sword classes. He is widely regarded as one of the most talented and respected young sword fighters in the country. Despite his many accomplishments, Zane remains humble and committed to his ongoing growth and development. He continues to train and study, always striving to push himself to new levels of excellence. Everybody, give it up for Knights Master Zane. Yes. All right. So, Zane, that was ChatGPT's intro with just a few little tweaks for me. How do you feel about it?
I feel like it was a bit hyperbolized.
Well, that's that's ChatGPT for you. Everyone is like the most world-renowned this or that when you ask ChatGPT to help you out with a bio, and I left it in because I'm your dad.
Yes, but he is a formidable opponent.
He really is.
People really are impressed when they come and they get whooped by now 16-year-old, but
Yeah, he's 6. Yeah, so he really does go toe to toe with some seasoned HEMA fighters when it comes to one-handed swords. Okay, I didn't get ChatGPT to discuss. To introduce Lisa McBride, co-founder of Bladefoot Academy, my partner in crime for the studio and in marriage for 23 years. Everybody, give it up for Coach Lisa.
Whoa.
All right. Yeah, this is kind of fun. Hey, we got a viewer too. Hey, viewer, how's it going? Yeah, cool. So anyway, Coach Lisa is very instrumental in a lot of back-end stuff. People come, and she always is that welcome ear, and people talk with her, and she makes coming to class really nice. It'd be much more Spartan than it already is if it was just me. So, she does things like take attendance, make sure that the bathrooms aren't totally hideous, even though that they usually are, but it's not our fault. It's not usually our responsibility, but she does clean those things up. She's team mom. She talks with parents and gives them guidance as well as some other students and adult students. And when people come as groups into the club, she is a fabulous conversationalist to all those who want to engage in such things. And what else? What else could I say? She used to gear up too and fight. She's fought by my side many times at group fighting. And some of the most fondest memories I have is her saving me from a couple of blows that were going to strike me upside the head. So, yeah, what else could I say? So say hi. Cool. Very cool.
It appears we have a comment. I think the viewer is trying to contact us.
I do declare. One comment. The viewer is trying to comment. Here we go. Trent, howdy. Trent, you are the boss.
It's Trent.
What's up, buddy? Yeah. Cool.
I mean, you get on here, Trent.
Yeah, you'll have to take a turn, Trent. Yeah. Anyway, we do actually have a planned out thing today, podcast, and we were going to discuss kind of the ins and outs in our experience of a historical fencing youth club. How long have we done our club for?
We have done, I know for a fact, the youth club. We've done that for about since 2016, I think.
Since 2016, since you were 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did we get started in this? What happened?
So, do we want to go through the whole story, or
No, not the whole story. Just the highlights. Well, okay. So for people who are HEMA instructors or who are thinking of becoming a HEMA instructor or a club that wants to grow and expand
Yeah.
their club
Are
and
you
maybe
there?
think about yes. Can you hear us? Uh-oh. Ah, we lost Coach Lisa. Oh,
There?
can
No.
you
Are you there now? Okay.
Yeah.
You guys all froze, and then I glitched out.
Oh darn, lost you for a second. Yeah, so this is for HEMA club owners who are thinking about expanding, and they're thinking about offering swordsmanship classes to youth. So that's
Do you want the official story or the backstory about how he started? Nate loves swords, and he drugged the whole family along with him.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Yeah, okay. Yep, I've been pantsed. Yes. Yes. But since then, look at us now. I mean, this is kind of a joyful thing that we can all do and share. In previous podcasts, I have mentioned a couple of times, so I'll just be really brief. Part of my sword journey was fitness, and it was an excellent experience for me to get into swordsmanship and do the solo drills and catch some sun and fresh air and go through all of that and learning and expanding. And it hit me like a ton of bricks one day that at some point when I was ready, when the world was ready, when I was ready for the world, that I would start a sword club. And I immediately thought, gosh, you know who would need this the most is the youth, right? The youths of the world, and America, because we're American. And so because the way that sports teams operates as a kid, it starts at younger and younger ages, and it costs more and more money to do it, and it gets more and more striated. Like, you can't just do friendly pickup games of sports. Like, no one just goes to the park and plays football anymore. You have to be in some kind of league or something. And yeah,
Can I say something?
Oh, yeah.
Zane, how did you feel like when you were younger and you would go to school and there would be kids who had already been playing sports for a long time? Did it make you not want to join those sports because you already felt like they're already way further than I am because they all started way younger than you?
Yeah, I will say a lot, because I never really went to any organized sports things as a kid. So, like, just on the playground when people started playing, I'd always be, like, completely clueless, and no one would bother to explain to me what was going on.
which is a total utter shame. Like, wow. When I was a kid, everyone would just kind of play all kinds of games, and we didn't play football. We played all kinds of games. Like, we'd throw the ball and tackle each other. That was somehow allowed in elementary school, and we all didn't die. Like, nobody died. Nobody even got hurt, besides some owies. That's just kind of how that worked. Man, I remember pickup basketball games. People would just bounce the ball, play sports that way. Yeah, totally different experience between my generation and your generation, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, sports has gotten more and more organized in the States, and less cross-section of people actually play the sport. the sport, all of the sports, right? And so I thought, okay, I don't like this. Activity is definitely something that the youth need to do, and swords is totally it. I grew up as a Star Wars nerd. I loved every sword movie I ever saw, and this was a chance to gather in underserved kids with different different experiences. You know, maybe they didn't like the structure of the coaching. I was thinking like kids who like skateboards, kids who like video games, and lo and behold, that's exactly who likes these sword classes.
Kids who like Dungeons and Dragons, kids who like just all the more nerdy things, who don't want to go beat up by everybody else.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Everyone who's not traditionally sportsy but still enjoys physical activity, really.
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing that surprised me when I got into this was just how physically demanding it is. What's you guys' experience in that?
I don't know. It's just been part of my growing up, so it's sort of just normal to me.
As far as you can remember, yeah. What do you think, Coach Lisa?
It can be pretty physically demanding, especially when you're like fighting in rounds and stuff. It's a lot. It takes a lot more than you think it's going to take. So.
Yeah, it definitely does. Especially sword and shield, I think, might be the most demanding.
Yeah,
although
it's like being in a boxing match. It's not like your normal HEMA where you touch and you back out. It's much more physically demanding, and it really builds your cardio and it really builds your stamina.
Yeah. Now you said something there that some people might be like, "Well, wait a minute." So when we started, I had this YouTube channel. I still have the YouTube channel. And if you look at the beginning videos, it's me doing sword exercises, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of fitness stuff with swords. And it was incredible. I'd never been in better shape in my life when I was doing that, bar none. Like I said before, I used to play high school football. I played, league basketball, not for school, but different leagues. I used to rock climb a lot. I used to do just all kinds of physical activity. And the best shape of my life was when I was doing my made-up exercises with, speed ladders and swords and dummies and running and getting on the floor, getting back up with a sword, doing stuff, foot drills on the speed ladder, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at that period in my life, I wasn't lifting any heavy weights, and I looked really amazing. And now that
I'll second that. Oh wait, are we not supposed to say that in front of our son?
Yeah, let's keep this PG. Thanks. But so it was quite an experience, and now I'm more martially potent than ever, I think. But it's become easier for me, and I don't treat the swords like I did before. And that was like 12 years ago. So I've gotten older.
You also specifically for the workouts you used swords that are specifically designed to be heavy, heavy
your
workout
cold steel.
swords.
Yeah,
that's true.
Cold steels things.
I was using the cold steels, but steel swords are just as heavy or even heavier than those. It's just the way that I was working out with them. A lot of swinging, a lot of repetitions. I was doing maybe 400 cuts per session. But I was also doing body weight exercises with that as well. So like a lot of lunges. I would run for 5 minutes one way. My timer would beep, and then I'd run 5 minutes the other way. That was my warm up, and then I'd grab the sword and I'd hit a dummy on a Tabata timer, stuff like that. I don't do things like that so much anymore. Now I focus on the.
He just tortures all the kids in class with that. That's what he does.
Sometimes, not all the time. We mainly focus on the fighting and the guards and the strikes and all that. But anyway, man, I got into this digression. So basically, my YouTube channel was a bunch of that, and it was intriguing and fun. And I got an invite from some Europeans that I didn't even know to come to Poland and get certified in becoming a coach for something called modern sword fighting, and I had no idea what that was. And as it turns out, it was a well organized rule set and organization specifically designed for youth, and it used Buhert soft kit stuff because MSF is a legitimate prep sport for steel fighting, and in Russia and in Ukraine they had done this a lot, and they had an amazing tested rule set where they could get a lot of youth to compete. And when I say a lot, I mean like 200 kids all come together and compete under one roof and successfully go through all of that. And I was just very impressed. And so I wanted that to be a part of my life. And so not most, because it's changed, I want to say half of all the events are more steel fighting type. It's a full contact for 60 seconds. For youth, there's no punching and kicking and takedowns. It's just sword strikes and shield maneuvers. But there's also HEMA style competitions, like with the sabers, where you fight, and then when there's a strike, you stop and you reset and go on. So it had a little bit of everything for everybody, and that's why I really liked it. And the gear is not expensive. It's just made in Europe at this point. So it's kind of hard to get. It's not so difficult, and that's not so much different from what you think of as typical HEMA. So fast forward, we took that certification. I was there for a week, got certified in that, and then we started experimenting with our kids, and they loved it. And then we started experimenting with the neighborhood kids, and they loved that. And then we moved to Washington, and we started our school. And we did a lot of free classes at the park, and kids were playing, and parents would come up and, hey, can our kids join us? Like, yeah, come on in. And we had this gear, and the whole idea is we were building, and gaining experience in coaching in this manner. Gosh, I want to say for another 2 years?
Yeah.
Before we got into a building and really started pushing it hard.
Maybe about a year.
Yeah, maybe about a year.
Because it's Washington, it rains all the time, so we really needed someplace where the gear wasn't going to get all wet and yucky and stuff. So
That's true. So anyway, that is the genesis of Blade Fit Academy. We actually started as a youth group first, and then I started getting more into HEMA, and more adults around me were like, hey, I want to do that too. And so honestly, at the time, it was kind of begrudgingly. I was like, should we focus on adults at all? And we decided, yeah, because the kids need to see the adults do cool stuff because they want to do cool stuff too, like how the adults do. So we decided, yeah, okay, we'll teach adults as well. And then here we are. So our youth program actually started first. I mean, that's the unusual thing.
So the whole point is that I was saying it was good training because the MSF style and the soft kit Buhert style is that it's a continuous type of round. It's not you grab the point and you step back. And so
yeah,
that's leading you back to where we were.
Right. Leading us back to where we were. Thank you. Yes, indeed. So anyway, hopefully that's a kind of an interesting history to the Blade Fit Academy. And all right, so let's move on to the next thing, the youth. So as far as if you're a HEMA instructor, let's say there's somebody who has a HEMA club or a historical fencing club, and they're like, okay, how do we start a youth class? What does it look like? Well, in order for you to understand what your class should be like, you got to understand who's going to be interested in the classes. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that mostly who we have is, like we said before, we're kids who like computers, like gaming, like fantasy, like D&D, but also the majority of them, a lot of them are homeschool kids. And so they're looking for a PE program, because they get PE credits being homeschooled, where they have to put them in something. And so that can count towards their PE for the homeschool kids. We've had a lot of kids who are homeschool kids. So.
Yeah, we've probably when we started using the the registration forms, we have 98 submissions for youth students.
Mm-hmm.
And before we started doing that, oh man, we had a
Yeah.
lot of people come through. So I want to say we're close to 130 students in total that we've had over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say. Actually, that might be
No,
closer to 140
No, you have like 90 something of the youth and then 85 or 82 of the adults.
of the
So,
adults. Right.
yep.
Um, yeah. So and that's the record since we started this particular registration form. Yeah. So I'm just talking youth students now, though, because
Oh.
before we did that, we had a lot of free classes at the park, and even before we got
Birthday parties.
yeah, birthday parties. We've had a lot of kids. So yeah, I want to second that. In our experience, it's kids who've got like ADHD, sword nerds, D&D nerds, homeschoolers. Yeah. Do you have anything to contribute to that, Zane? Who comes in?
A lot of people who come in,
A little closer.
the thing I've noticed about a lot of the people who come in is that they all seem to be sort of on the outer edge of child society, as it would seem to me.
What do you mean by that? Be kind, but what do you mean?
Well, like your traditional outcast kids who they have their small clique of friends, but that's usually mostly what they have. That seems to be the type of person we attract the most of.
The nerd kids. I say that affectionately because human people.
Because you're a nerd. Okay.
Human people are nerd people. It's just who we are. It's our brand, right? It's our tribe, Yeah, I think so. And people really look forward to class. Like the students who like it, they really like it a lot.
And the ones who try it out and don't like it, they really don't like it.
That's true.
You will know within the first class whether or not they're coming back.
Yeah, no, we do a lot of sparring and we use soft kit. And yeah, some people, they don't like getting hit. They really don't like getting hit. And if you're not acquainted, especially with physical activity of falling down a lot, maybe if you're on your bike or football getting tackled or whatever, it's kind of a new experience and it might be insurmountable for kids and they drop out. Yeah, to me that's one thing, right? Like getting hit. We're a sparring club. We do soft kit, so they got to be able to take a hit.
So
yeah.
One of the things that we talked about before also is that we play, it's not just sparring, but we play games also. And so the games can get intense, and that's what a lot of kids, they either love that or hate that. And the ones who love it are the ones who stay. So.
Yeah, that's true.
I've noticed another type of kid that we get a lot of is the kid whose parents are just desperately trying to find something to get them to be physically active. A lot of those wash out real fast, though.
Yeah, some of them do, but
there's quite a few that stay.
yeah, there is. And we don't want to sound selective about that, right? We like to encourage anyone who comes to those doors to stick with it because, I mentioned the getting hit thing. You can learn it. It's an uncomfortable thing, but that is, you can overcome that. It is surmountable. It's just some people decide they don't want to. Or when new people come in, we ask everyone be kind to them, and to take it easy. And we like to sort of separate the newish students for a little while. I like to spend one-on-one time or 1-on-3 or 1-on-4, whatever the new group is, and really go through the bedrock, foot maneuvers, the defenses with the sword and the shield. Sword and shield's our bread and butter, just because a lot of kids really like that shield as a way to to defend themselves.
Yeah.
To help. Go ahead, Zane. Yeah.
So when you're just starting out and you're not yet comfortable holding the sword and shield yet, you have this big slab that you can just hold between you and your opponent if you just need a moment to think. I think that's another thing. It's about speed of thinking.
Right. Which is amazing how that increases. Each class, like the first three classes, their thinking speed doubles each time.
So I was going to ask Zane, how do you, how would I say this? Like, how do you recognize how your thinking has increased versus like when you first started?
A lot of things that I would have to spend quite a bit of time thinking about, I sort of just, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's one
Like
of those things that's
watching a battle or watching a fight or watching a game versus now when you see things.
I don't quite understand your question.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, he started at age 9,
I
so
know.
he just
That was
grew
a
up with it.
lifetime ago.
Yeah, yeah, that was a while ago, quite a while ago for him. Yeah, well, but as a coach, you definitely see the speed of thinking, the speed of thought increases quite a bit, very quickly at first, and then of course it still does increase, but it's just like lifting weights. You know, your first 3 weeks, you just see massive gains, and then after that, it kind of stabilizes. You really got to stick with it. Yeah, it's exactly like that here in class. People come, they get so much better so quickly, and then they gotta double down and earn it thereafter. I mean, it's just the way of the world. Yeah. Who else comes in? Let's see. There was another thing I was gonna say, but I kind of forgot. Does anyone else have anything to add about that?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay. Yeah, so we do use sword and shield at first, and we get people a little proficient in that, and then we go to a smaller buckler and sword. Modern sword fighting is, like I said before, it is a prep sport of steel fighting, right? Buhurt. And so thrusting with their straight swords is forbidden because the helmets have grills on them. They're not face masked. And so when the way that the straight swords are made, right, it's a plastic core with foam around it. So over time, what could happen is when you're stabbing against the grill, the foam could give, and then the hard core could potentially go through the bars. And not only that, Buhurt people are extremely reticent in adding thrusting to their muscle memory for obvious reasons. It's like the one thing that actually makes them bleed a lot is an accidental thrust when they're doing their sport. So that's a big no-no for them. And this is the gear from that sport. Now the way that we get around that is they have curved sabers, and then so when you thrust with a saber, that is allowed, but it has a slight bend in it, and so the core inside will actually bend the way you want it to, and that's deemed safe enough to thrust against a grilled helmet. Some people wear fencing masks, but it's kind of the same thing. It's the same problem. If you thrust enough with that straight sword, what you're going to do is the outer part is going to get weak, and then if you do happen to thrust against someone with a grilled mask, why it is going to slip through and perhaps cause an injury. So that's why we have the rule set that we do with that. But like I said before, we do have rule sets for HEMA style with the saber, and that's kind of nice. So you get a little bit of each in our class. Okay, so let's move on really quick. Engagement. So what engages the kids the most?
Well, I think we both know the answer to that. Games.
They like the games. They do like the games. Coach Lisa, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, I agree. They like the games. They get excited when they're actually able to hit people. when they first come, we have a lot of kids that are reticent at first to hit people. But when you tell them it's okay and you get them all geared up, they really, really, really like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure in every other part of their life, they're always told, don't hit, don't hit, don't hit. Yeah. And suddenly that it's allowed, they're like, they get very excited.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree. They do kind of light up. So we do a lot of group. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and teaching them skills a lot of times is not nearly as exciting for them as playing the games are. So the games are the big draw. And if we don't have games, then they kind of, for like a few classes, they'll get kind of like
disappointed,
bored, sad, disappointed.
Bored. Yeah.
You need the games in there because without it, it sort of just feels like you're drilling for something that you're never going to do, and they all feel pointless when you don't apply those skills that you're learning through the drills.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. The kids definitely need more of an immediate crescendo release, whatever you want to call it.
Dopamine release?
Yeah, well, because, adults, we train. It's like, yeah, because I want to get good at this thing. But kids just want to have fun. Right?
Yeah.
And let's face it, adults just want to have fun too. but adult, yeah, it is just different. Like for me, the drilling I like a lot. If that's all there ever was, I would still accept it because I like physical puzzles. They're great. I just enjoy that. But if I was a kid, there's no way that I would stick around if that's all there was. I would want something else. The way that a lot of people teach, adults with traditional historical fencing, they do these drills. And there's a big discussion right now, actually, of gamifying these drills. But it's a slightly different than what we think of as when we call, gaming. We mean actual games with rules set on top of the martial aspect of the art, right?
Yeah.
They mean the drills, and it's like you put barriers on the drill, and it's sparring, but it's a controlled sparring drill where you have arbitrary rules that you place that encourages you getting good at a certain thing, and it feels more organic, but you have these guardrails, and that's gamifying your study, and that's great. I mean, that's good. This is an important thing to do, and we do that as well. But when we say gaming, we mean like we actually put pylons down, and they mean certain things, and we play capture the flag. We have other games that we've invented. I won't bore you with the names of all those, but
King of the Hills.
But if you want to know, we can always tell you.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to know what we do, it's not a secret. Because I'm just going to say it loud and proud, we definitely want people to start their own club and become part of the tournament circuit along with us and our club. And the cool thing about what we do is we train kids for traditional HEMA style fighting, and also for more full steel fighting. And it's a really cool in-betweener prep sport. We don't call it modern sword fighting anymore, just for geopolitical reasons. Now we're calling it soft combat league, right?
Soft combat sports.
Soft combat sports. Yes, SCS, soft combat sports. That's what we're calling it today.
Yeah, today.
Well,
we have other participants also, and we also have a tournament coming up. So that's what we're calling it.
Yeah, well, together, like as a group, that's what we've come up with.
Yes.
Yeah. So soft combat sports. That's our league, and that's what we're going with.
All right, good to know. I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Well, for me, it's been MSF forever, but forces bigger than me have changed some things. We won't get into that. That's just so sad. But but the sport lives on, and the principles and the organization is amazing, and so we shouldn't let that die. So we're just going to use that and partner with other like-minded clubs in the States, and we're just going to grow this thing. So that's the fun part about this. It's amazing. It really does captivate the imaginations and the physicality of the students. It pushes them in ways that I don't think they've been pushed before. And we kind of trick them because we do these games and it tricks them into getting exercise. And they
Well,
love
it
it.
also helps it helps with their fight and flight response so that they can think under pressure. I know for me, the more games that I play, the more being in battle or even just sword fighting, you see things and you see things in your openings and whatever. And I know just in a whole myriad of different ways in my life, it's changed how I see things. So, like, for example, we were driving Nate to work one night and I had the baby in the car and a guy pulled into our lane and I just responded, no freaking out, no whatever, just solved the puzzle of getting through and we didn't have a head-on collision. So,
Yeah, that's always good.
and I attribute that to the sword fighting and to playing the games and seeing openings and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, you start kids on that when they're young, and it can apply in all sorts of different aspects of their life.
Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons why you want kids to get involved in sports, and then also, I forget what's called, but Lisa, you were talking about this cross. You're crossing the midline.
Yeah, the cross lateral movements. I forgot what it's officially called.
It
and it develops brain hemisync where you create neuron pathways back and forth in your brain, and it helps them create more neurons in their brain, basically.
Yeah. It's super important.
Both sides, yeah.
And exercise science is getting to the point where, it's validating what sports jocks have been saying forever, and the whole ancient Greek idea of strong mind, strong body, and that is true. That is being borne out by the latest science that studies these things. And if someone's brilliant and they don't exercise, if they did exercise, they would be more brilliant than they are now. It's just the way that it is. No, I mean, it's true. I mean, unless you're just like, 175 IQ, well, what does 178 IQ do for you? Maybe not a whole lot. But if you're, lower on the spectrum and you start exercising, those 3 IQ points mean a lot. So, yeah, right. So, we all don't have 176 IQ. If we did, the world would be different for sure.
Well, based on how the scale is, we wouldn't all have 178 IQ. That would be the new 100.
I guess that's true. That's just the way that works.
You're so smart, Zane.
Yes. The smarty pants over here. Yeah, all that sword work has made him a genius.
Oh.
One Google search.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it is important. And as someone else, I had a conversation with Jeff Beeson. He's well, I won't bore you guys. But anyway, he has a club too. He does jiu-jitsu and HEMA and all this other stuff. And oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. I remembered. We don't practice swordsmanship because we're afraid of roving brigands, right? We practice swordsmanship for other reasons, and heart disease is a much bigger killer than a roving band.
That's a good brigand.
Yeah, right.
Fight against that brigand.
The Viking horde is not attacking our seaside village. It's heart disease and diabetes, and
that comes from not addressing your fight or flight syndrome anyways with everything else in your life, but not exercising properly. So
yeah. And the cool thing about martial arts and weapons martial arts is this is something that you could do your whole entire life. There is no retiring from this as a sport. There's just not. You can do this. You can retire from sparring. You can retire from like tournaments and fighting, but you could always pick up your sword and go through different actions and maneuvers in endless combinations your whole life until the day you die, right? It's just how it is. And so with that in mind, this is something that sticks with you literally your whole life, and it's great to start as a young person, I think. There's my soapbox on that. So what do you think of that?
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. You cannot hear us? Hello? 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 Are you there still?
I
Hello?
can't hear anything.
Uh-oh. You can't hear anything. That's bad. That's
That
really,
is-
really bad.
That is very, very bad.
Yeah. Are you frozen? Let's see. Let me look at the controls here. She's not muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
We hear you.
I can't hear you.
No, that's a bummer. Did you? Boy, oh, maybe I should post a comment here. Did your headphones? Spell that right. Did your headphones die? Check the comments. The comments.
No.
The comments. No? Huh.
Tell her to check her computer volume.
Yes. Check your PC volume.
Try talking again.
Can you hear us?
I turned off the headphones. I can't even hear you in the computer.
You can't hear.
Sorry, guys.
No.
I don't know what happened.
This is not good. This is terribleness. Because we can hear each other, but she cannot hear us.
Try it again.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello.
I don't know. That was weird. I didn't even touch it. That was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Good. We're still on. Yes, and these comments will live forever. Check your PC volume. Did your headphones die?
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, this isn't on the list, but why? Why should someone start a youth class?
Because they like kids.
Well, I think it has to do with more with, well, are you interested in coaching? Do you have that desire to coach? Number one, I wouldn't start one if you're not interested in coaching.
Yeah, for sure.
Number two, if you want to help bring up sword fighters for future generations, and I think all it will do is it just raises the whole level of the sword fighting community, because they're starting, say, like at Zane, where he started at such a young age that he has all this experience, whereas a lot of kids or people might start when they're in their late teens or early 20s. And so what it does is it helps raise the bar of the competition, basically, and of the skill level around. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. You gotta like kids, though. If you don't
Yes.
like kids,
Yes.
you will hate being a youth coach.
Yes.
You have to have that desire.
And I would
yeah.
suggest having somebody who you coach with, because you're going to need to play off of each other.
Yeah, you're gonna need two competent
At
adults.
least two.
Yeah, that you could bounce them. Right, because you're in one spot and you're leading, and then there's like maybe the four in front, but then whenever whenever there's the next row and the next row, your lumens, shall we say, like a flashlight has lumens, it gets soaked up in the first rows, and then by the time it gets to the back rows, they can't see the lumens, and they will create their own, and they'll do whatever. And then, yeah.
Yes.
So you need another person in the back to like, okay, hey, do this, or plant them like, okay, come on, let's stay on track. Especially when you're running through the drills.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta like kids. You gotta like the process. You got to like teaching.
So also, can I throw something in here?
Sure.
Different age groups have different skill levels, and you have to teach them in different ways. So under 13, between 10 and 13 is kind of the same. You hit 13 and it's kind of like they're more advanced, but
13-year-olds really love our class. They're the ones who are so into it. Yeah.
You have to teach them in different ways. It can't all just be the same.
That's right. The younger they go, the less time they're going to be engaged. They do not have the strength or the attention span.
Yes.
Respiratory capacity, they don't have that either.
That too. It's going to be a lot of playful drills, a lot of sandbox learning for them, and Yeah. Do you guys have anything more to add with that age group? And the further the age goes
Well, yeah,
south of that,
when you
the
go
more
the
sandbox.
younger you get, the more you have to make sure that they're not always pitted against each other, because then they become the enemy in their minds, just the way that they are developmentally.
Right.
That there will be this, so where it becomes not enjoyable, so you have to change things up so they're not always fighting the same people.
They really will see each other as an
Yeah.
enemy,
Yeah.
not like an opponent.
Yes.
You will train them to like hate each other.
Yes. And you don't want that. So
No.
a lot of that will be like, um, we don't focus so much on the little kids because it's I find it a more difficult thing to do. We've got some younger kids and they throw in the mix. What, I think the youngest we go is like
8?
8. If they have a sibling that's in the class,
Yep.
you got to not pit those siblings against each other a lot of times. But I find that they like to play the games more, and they like to slip through the cracks and score. They'll score because nobody's watching them because they're little.
Right. Your natural threat receptor,
Yeah.
they don't ping that and then they go grab the flag and take it back, and it was like they were a ghost.
Yes. Versus say like they're doing single fights, or like fights with like double fights with each other, where they're just doing the timed rounds, or they're doing like scoring. You can do too much of that with them, and it's not good. What, like, how old is it? 10 and above can do that more
Mm-hmm.
versus
Yeah.
just so much play time.
Mm-hmm. I would say, just kind of circling back to the whole, if you have a small class and all you have is, let's say you have 4 11-year-olds, or run the gamut from like 9, 10, 11, or let's just say like a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, and 2 11-year-olds. That's pretty realistic. You naturally, it's like, okay, well, these guys versus these guys, because they're about even
Yeah.
in their. But if you keep that and you keep them opposing each other, that's bad. You're wiring their brains to hate the other group. So that's a perfect opportunity for you to have all 4 of them link up as a team to face against you as like some giant or monster or something like that, or pit them all together against you in some sort of adventure setting. A respawn game works really great where you're the big bear and they're the wolf pack, right? And so when the instructor hits them, they got to go and respawn, and then they come back. And the same thing for you, and then that way it's cooperative, and that whole way, I mean, as an instructor, there's no way that they could face you unless they coordinate their attack, right? And so the whole time you're training them to work together to get you, right? And then and what you're doing is you're teaching them how to be the proper hooligans that they need to be. Scratch that. But yeah, no. So, and that's a really fun game. If you don't like kids, sounds horrifying to you. If you like kids, this sounds wonderful. And so you have to have that.
Favorite thing about
Say that again.
I was
We
gonna say,
lost you
what's
for a
Zane's
second.
favorite thing about the games as a kid? How has that
Yeah,
changed
when you were
over the years?
younger.
Honestly, when I was younger, the game was like the entire reason you want to be there. Whereas
Mhm.
now the game is just the best part of being there, but the rest of it is still enjoyable now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you could tell we have a lot of fun memories doing this with the students. And that's another thing. Why have a youth class? It's harder. It's more rewarding. It really is. You get to watch kids grow up, and there's something really special about that, that you have a part in their life. But you got to be prepared to talk with them if they reach out to you, right? You have to be open enough to kind of encourage them in other ways as well, because you have become a mentor in their life. And, families, they trust you with their child. And so, you have to provide reasonable safety. You have to provide, something that's fun and engaging at their level as they plug into a greater class. Well, that can be difficult. It's not insurmountable. Depending on the student, it's more difficult than other students. But as a whole, it's very rewarding, and it's one of the cool things I think. Like me as a person, I wake up, I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, I'm I'm a mentor. I coach kids. You really gotta like that. And we do. So people, if you're looking for a place to coach, I'm not sure why you're 50 minutes into this live thing if you're not a swords person, but if you can hear the sound of my voice, this is a perfect opportunity to mentor kids for the positive. There's a lot of negativity out there, and this can be something very powerful and positive in kids' lives.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things I was going to mention also, as you were talking, I thought of, we also have in our kids class, we have where parents actually participate also. And it's a great bonding experience for them with the parent and the child being on the same team, or working out differences that maybe they've had during the week, where the kid can feel like they can fight in a positive way with their parent to overcome whatever those differences are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Sometimes there are differences, and that's it. A lot of times parents do want to suit up. Sometimes they don't. We encourage them actually to suit up and be a part of that, especially when the kids are younger. It's how do I put it? The kid sees their parents suit up, and it's more familiar, and they feel safer doing it. Yeah, and they kind of engage more usually, and it's a lot of fun watching families kind of grow and do that thing. Yeah, a lot of father-son relationships, they grow and expand in a way. I know our relationship is like, he's 16, he doesn't hate my guts. I understand him more as his dad. Like, I know what sets him off. I know what he goes through. I feel like we have a stronger bond by a lot. If we didn't do this, we would not know each other nearly like we do.
I wouldn't know. I don't have any frame of reference.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I mean, you've seen friends and maybe how they might talk about their parents and stuff. I'm assuming you probably talk bad about me sometimes, but maybe not as much as they do.
No, not really.
See, good kid. No, but thank you, Zane. Yeah. So I feel like we've got a good relationship. I smile whenever you enter the room. I don't think, oh, that kid. And you're not frowning at me. You're not, giving me the evil eye when I walk in. So, yeah.
And it's fun to watch you two fight. It's like watching two caged tigers. It's pretty funny.
And that's the thing. When your kid can consistently beat you, and you have to try your hardest to beat them. It's hard to explain what a proud moment that is. And so that is pretty cool. So I'm gonna hand the head instructor keys to Zane when he can consistently beat me. Then it's your ball, dude.
No. I do not have the managerial skill.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for this, and so we're family oriented, and so in the club, for the youth class especially, we definitely want. We have always made it a priority to let the families have fun. So that's family discounts. That's letting parents suit up sometimes every once in a while. That's really encouraging the whole family to come in and maybe they want to integrate this as part of their family experience. We highly encourage that. So that's something to think about. With the if someone was starting a club, that's definitely something for them to think about.
Yeah.
What else, guys? What else do we got? Let's see. Oh, we talked about age groups a little bit, but can we drill down on that a little bit?
Anyone under 10 will be very, very hard to teach in the traditional sense of going through and teaching them things. You sort of just have to throw them in circumstances that hopefully will force them to learn.
Yeah. Lisa, do you have anything to add about that?
Well, just that our program focuses mostly between like 10 and above, but mostly it's like what 13 to 15, 16 is the majority of everybody we have in there.
Yeah, 13 to 16, 17. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that's
so,
kind of
we have a program of how we kind of run it. It's loosely the same every week. We change different things up. Um, so a class for a younger group of students would be like totally different than what we do. And I mean, we touched on that already, but so what
yeah,
do? We do warm-ups, we run drills, we do skill learning, and then we play games.
right.
That's kind of
That's
our
that's the cadence,
the basic framework for each class.
right? Now, so the natural divisions though. So natural divisions, you're talking, 10, 11, 12. 10's a
Yeah,
little
well,
young,
like,
but
yeah,
11,
it is
12. So like 8 through 10,
8 through 10. Anything younger than 8, it gets very difficult, and it's got to
they
just be
really,
like a half an hour and a lot of like little games
right,
like, where they're hitting
right.
like a pylon or a pell, or they're hitting the
The
adult.
coach, yeah, or
Because
each
after
other
a
for a
half an
little bit.
hour, it's
They're dead tired,
they can't do it.
and they won't.
Or
They
running
can't.
around, or they'll usually run
Yeah,
around.
they'll run around in their gear and they'll just imagine like, yeah, I'm a knight, and they'll just run around and wave their sword around. You have to sort of prepare for that, and you have to let them do that. That's part of the sandbox learning. That's for that age group. That's part of the whole deal. And then you kind of steer them, and then they fight each other a little bit. They get kind of tired, and then they just run around a little bit more, swing it around. You provide targets for them to hit, right? Because they want to hit something, but they're going to get tired, like Lisa says, half an hour or less, and then
Yeah.
they're done. They really are
Yep.
done. There's no more in the tank for them, or they'll just get really cranky and not listen.
And then the other kids become the enemy.
Yeah, right, right. So that's your. I want to say that's your
Under 10, under
under
8.
tens. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like,
under eights
yeah.
for
8 to
sure.
10-year-olds, they're okay, and they can follow direction and they can participate, but they get kind of bored during the drills.
They do. They want more group fights.
Yeah.
They want more like what works really good
Games.
for that age group is like the instructor, and you kind of be the monster dummy, and then you sort of give them openings and they hit it, like
Hmm.
as groups or even as individuals. But they really like the group dynamic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, they
They
do.
really do. They all get excited, like yeah, like all together when one hits you in the spot, and then they kind
Yeah,
of
well, they
rally and
also
join in.
like, yeah, well, they like that they can hit you when you're distracted by fighting somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, they do like that. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but even that, you can do that a little bit, and then have them fight each other a little bit, and again, it's like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, but probably half an hour.
Yeah,
So that's
we have some troopers in there right now. They're a little bit
yeah,
younger.
yeah. So
Only,
that's yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's that age group. Now, when you're talking like actual lessons where there's skill drills and stuff that it sinks in and all that, you're talking that's
I
like
say 11 to 13.
11. Yeah,
11 to 13 is a certain category, and then 13, depending on how their skill level is, 13 to 15, and then your
yeah.
16 and 17 year
Six.
olds.
Yep, yep. That's exactly the division. So even if you're running one class, you have to be careful of that, and it is based on skill. Like generally speaking, that's how the age divisions fall under. There are exceptions, obviously. Some kids are just bigger than others. Some kids have more experience. And it really depends on their dial. Like, can they dial their hits? Some can, some can't, despite your everyday warnings. And but you just got to know your students, and then you kind of fit them in your activities where you want them to go. Um, Yeah, but those are the divisions. Now, if you had like a McDojo or whatever, I mean, I would love to have 300 youth students in our club. That would just be amazing. Then you could have classes just devoted for those age groups, and it would work great, actually.
Yeah.
But that's not our situation, and probably won't be for a while. Although I would love to have 300 students. It would just be the coolest thing.
You'd need at least like 3 more class times
For sure.
a
For
week.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's just how that would go. And in a case like that, I mean, things grow organically, right? So you're definitely going to need lieutenants, hopefully among the ranks, your youth students who have ranked up, who have proven themselves, who have had direction, and then they help teach other students like Zane here. We have a ranking system in our youth classes. It's different from the adults. The adults, we don't have a ranking system, although we're kind of thinking about that and playing with that. But for the youth, we do, and the highest rank is Knights Master, and so that's what Zane is. He's gone through that, and part of that is learning how to instruct other students and having them be able to teach specific skills as part of that. So when you have a bigger class, your students that have been in it for a while, they're going to help you.
Yes.
Yeah, but it gets a bit weird and sticky since for some reason it seems that for whatever reason, like winter hits one year winter hits and then all of a sudden all your nights just go. They don't come back, or they do, but it's like once a month.
Well, a lot of them,
Yeah.
I think they get to a certain point where they say they started when they were 13 and they do it for a couple years, and then they get more interested in doing stick fighting. And that's kind of like, 16, 17, we kind of roll people over into the adult class because they're more interested in the stick
Right.
fighting and the real sword fighting at that point.
We kind of do that now, but before we didn't have that
we
as
didn't
an
have
option.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we do that now. I mean, we're just like everybody else. Our club kind of rolls with it and experiments and sees like, okay, well, retention. I mean, if they want to keep doing sword stuff, can we offer something to them? I mean, there's just natural attrition with students. I mean, it for whatever reason, things happen, and people move on and new people come, and that's fine. That's just the natural cadence of life. But yeah, it is sad to see.
Especially
People
when all
go.
Zane's friends leave. That's what he's complaining about.
Well, we've got some on the
Friends,
injured
come
list.
back.
Yeah, well, he's on the injured list. He is coming back.
I know. I mean the other ones.
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, maybe we can entice them with this tournament that's happening. Yeah. So it's the first annual SCS Soft Combat Sports Youth Tournament. That's
Yep.
July 15th.
Woo! Yeah.
Yep.
Wait, so that one in Arizona doesn't count, or
Well, that's a different. That was MSF USA.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that does count.
Yes.
We've had that.
We do have contenders coming up from Arizona. So
Yep. So same club. They're coming up. We've already got some guys on the registration form, so they are coming. It's happening. So that's really exciting. It's really exciting to have another club come up and you guys do a tournament, which is super cool. And
yeah.
also,
So what we're telling you is we need more clubs in the tournament circuit because our kids don't have anybody else to fight. We need more clubs. We need somebody.
we definitely do.
This is an appeal. Please, somebody. We've tried for years. Our kids need people to fight.
Yeah. Well, we do have another sword club for kids that has started, and it actually does pretty good. And so some of those guys are actually coming over too. And we have done some cooperative things. We call them raids, right? So we've raided their club before, and they've raided our club, and that was a very positive experience both ways. I like that a lot, actually. So we are doing that more, but it's not exactly a tournament circuit per se. It's just we're having fun with different clubs, and that's part of the experience.
There's also complications when you do something like that because the rules of the two clubs can be very different. They don't
Yep.
mesh very well a lot of the time. So like some base foundational things like just helmets. Their club doesn't use helmets, ours does, so that can lead to a lot of complications when crossing over because everyone's muscle memory is whack them in the head when it's
Yeah.
exposed, but
And they hide behind giant shields with
their-
their little heads.
but their club is like
yeah.
7 to 10 is like their main group, and then they all have shields that are the size of them, and they just don't cover their head at all.
Yeah. Right, because they're not used to, because that's off limits for them. Yeah.
And then like only 1 or 2 came when they raided us.
Are you being salty?
Slightly.
It's okay. You know what? So yeah, David Hebron. He runs the group. He won't be mad when I mention his name. It's actually a pretty cool group. He runs battle games in Vancouver, Washington, and he sets me aside and he says, "I specially designed these weapons to beat you guys." But that's okay. I mean, that's it's part of the deal. And the next time there's a raid, we'll be ready. In fact, we're probably after this tournament, we're due for another raid, so we'll get that going. It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. Zane is very competitive and he likes to win, and so yeah, he likes the tournament setting. Yeah. Well, we got to get you stick fighting because that's where you're going to find the most challenges beyond once a year. These guys coming up, they're the real deal. So they're going to be tough competitors. So I'm excited for that. What else? What else we got? We keep talking. Oh yeah, the age groups. Cool. All right. So the next thing is physical proficiency. So that's another thing to consider. So the kids who are interested in youth swords, if that's if they find it and they're like, oh wow, many of them are gamers and have not spent a whole lot of time doing athletics before.
Well, there's also a group of people that have, and they just don't like the traditional athletics.
Right. Or they tried Olympic fencing and they thought, that's not for me.
Yeah.
They like sword fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do get a mix of people who are athletic, who have that physical proficiency, and those who don't. They just, they have gamed. I mean, it's a digital world. They grew up with an iPhone or whatever, or Android. Certainly, video games are amazing. They could captivate you. It is a digital world these days, and so this is the one thing that is gotten them excited about being active for a lot of kids. And so this is their introduction to their own physical body in a sense, right? And it's important. It's important to give place to those kinds of people so that they can be acquainted with themselves, so that they can really learn to enjoy being physical. And also, how they do that is they experience little victories in class. And part of being successful in that endeavor is, as a coach, you're kind of watching them as all the students as they perform, and you divide them up and do different activities based on you're trying to achieve parity. So that's another reason why group fighting is such an important component, because you could stack the decks to where you have more experienced fighters, but maybe they're smaller, and you've got bigger students who maybe are less experienced. So maybe size will help them, like maybe they have a longer reach, or maybe they're just more physical, maybe they're stronger, as just one example.
I can tell you from experience, though, you can only take that up to a certain point, because there gets to be a certain point where, yeah, you have someone who is small and very skilled, then they just get steamrolled by someone who's twice their size.
Right. And so that's why you don't want them like one-on-one. That's why you want that group dynamic to kind of mitigate that. And as a coach, you can make adjustments as you need to. But the point is you want new students who are trying this out who aren't used to doing athletic things. You want them to enjoy the experience, to feel like they're learning something, to have fun. You want them to feel like they are winning little victories, just like everybody else. So that's what everybody wants in class. But it's important to be able to allow in your program flexibility for these students to achieve that. Do you have anything to add, Coach Lisa, about that?
No.
It's
Sorry. My battery's going to die. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean it's definitely it's a learned thing, right? Like as you coach, you definitely get more proficient in that. But that is something to watch for sure. So whatever you do in your program, you want to make sure that you address that, because those are the kinds of people, like half of your class is going to be filled with those people who want to try it out. And you definitely want to have open arms for those people. Even if they just were able to do it for a couple times and they decide that they don't like it, you've planted that seed, and hopefully they'll become active in something else later in life. I actually care. See, that's the thing. I care about people. So, even if they don't enjoy the class, or they did enjoy the class, but something happened, they're like, I'm out of here. Hopefully later they will feel like, hey, you know what? I did this thing. I know what it is to be active. I know how that feels. I'm going to dive in again. Maybe they'll pick up HEMA as an adult. Who knows? But I don't know. I care about that kind of thing. Okay, so what else we got, guys? What else we need to talk about today? Some actionable items. Let's do a quick recap. Youth Historic Fencing Program. Yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay!
Yay, verily, yay!
Yay, verily, yay!
Because you indeed have passed all tests of valor.
Yeah, we're quoting a movie, Court Jester, if you're not familiar. Coach Lisa, what do you think? If we were to do this all over again, would you start a youth program?
Yeah. Because I like kids.
Let me rephrase this. If we had to start all over, would you let me drag you into this one more time?
Yes. But I might do it a little differently.
For sure. Taking what we know now and doing it differently.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and as time goes on, your coaching gets better and you can recognize things in people the more that you're in it. Like you can recognize within the first class, like especially with kids, like what the dynamic between them and their siblings, if their siblings come, whether or not they're going to stay, whether or not they're going to be interested in it. And you learn better how to coach those people, maybe not throw them into the fray as much as you would somebody else who's more aggressive. Like work on some skills stuff with them and pair them up with other kids in the class who aren't as aggressive either.
Yeah.
Because like Coach Nate said, we have some kids who don't know how to dial back their hits on people who are younger or smaller than them. And that can be really difficult for new students coming in. So not pairing them up necessarily or pairing them up on the same team and having them fight with each other instead of against each other type of a thing. So
yeah, if they hit hard, they better be able to take the hits too. And that's kind of, I do explain that. It's like, hey, listen, if you're a hard hitter, I'm putting hard hitters against you. Yeah, that's just how that works. Yeah, and autistic kids, we get some kids on the spectrum, and that has its own reward, and there's some challenges with that too. And that's just the reality, guys. That's just how it is with who comes into these sword classes, and so you got to be prepared for that and be able to make those adjustments so that everyone is, everyone gets what they bargained for in class.
Yeah.
So
make it a good experience for everybody.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, as resources, if people have questions about starting a youth class and that sort of stuff, they can reach out to us and we can give them some ideas about games and how we run things and how we have things set up and kind of like the progression, how we have like our ranking system, just to give them an idea, and they can use that as kind of like a springboard for whatever their program that they want to do. If they're struggling with that, or if they maybe just even finding out what we do so that they can add it as a resource to whatever they have in mind also.
Yeah. For sure. No, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that. What else?
I do believe we've covered everything.
I think you're bored. I think we have covered most everything else. Yeah, it is super rewarding, guys. If you're on the fence, I would say try it out. Grab some neighbor kids and start a free thing at first. See how it goes. See if you like it. You will not
Running
be
in
able,
parks or just neighborhood. Yeah, that's a good
right?
start.
Or if you have a HEMA club where you practice indoors, that's even better. You will
Or if
not
you have
be
your
able,
own kids, force
or
them.
your own kids, right? You will not be able to teach the kids how you teach adults with HEMA using the treatises. You're not going to be able to. And you will be able to a small select sliver of kids who have the attention span for that. The vast majority, you'll lose them. You'll lose them. That's just a word of caution. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to start this music and we're going to say, yeah. Okay, everybody. This has been the Steel and Glory podcast with Coach Lisa, Master Knights Master Zane,
Woot woot.
and Coach Nate. Hoorah! And yeah, we're signing off. Always remember to slay your demons. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Knock 'em dead.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.